Everybody listen to We're Not Wizards. Because we are the best. And we're not wizards. No matter what anybody says. Goodbye.
Twice, it makes it easier to line it up.
We clapped like, 3 times on Death by Monsters. That's because Matthew Jude is a crazy man.
I can do a Matthew Jude impression.
Oh, I want to hear it. I can't get his accent.
Can you not?
I know.
It's kind of like
I feel like I can do other ones, but there's something about where his voice sits in his skull that I can't quite get. And it might just be because also it's a mix, like it's not his actual accent, it's like his real accent that he's like tamping down, and so there's no way to really know how he's going to say any word. And
the difficulty is that I can only really do it when I'm shouting. I did it at Gearstones when I was there because he was playing a game with everybody else, and I just repeatedly came out. And on reflection, that probably wasn't a good thing to completely impersonate somebody. But you know how when you meet somebody for the and it wasn't even the first. This is the thing. I'm trying to build up excuses in my brain. It wasn't even the first time that I met him, because I met him at AirCon, and it was kind of like, oh, you're tall. Yeah,
he is taller than you think he's
tall.
Gonna be.
Mm-hmm. I know.
He is.
I was just like that.
Because normally I see him just like this, sitting down in front of a computer screen. You don't get a feel of how tall a person is. And he talks about how tall he is, and I'm like, you're not, though. And then in real life, you're like, I do only come up to your shoulder. Huh, how about that?
And and there's the whole hat thing kind of going on, which just adds on a little bit,
just
a
little bit
extra.
Bit, yeah.
I've got a theory about this, or a hypothesis, if you're...
Okay, let's hear it.
That he has got a really, really tightly matted bun of hair. And then what he does is on a weekend, he'll remove the hat, he'll take out, and I'm going to use this sort of bobby pins, because I'm, American, y'all. And there's just a cascade of hair.
It all comes down. I have actually had the privilege of seeing him without a hat on, and it's true. It's just like a big, like a top knot kind of situation, and then it comes down. It's majestic. It rivals Nick Murphy's current hair situation, really.
Cousin It. That's what I'm thinking about. And this is when he takes to the local woods and perpetuates the Bigfoot myth.
This is exactly it.
This is exactly. He is Harry and the Hendersons.
You've got him figured out. He actually might sue you for revealing his secrets when he hears this.
I can edit this out, though. We have the power. As long as you're not in a kind of a dual recording situation and you're like, oh yeah, you thought we were talking about this, but what we're actually talking about is this. And we caught him and stuff like that. Right. So there you go. So that's it. But anyway, I'll probably cut in an intro. I don't know, because I usually go, hi, welcome to We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard. I'll be your host for... And then go, April. But you didn't sing the harmony, so, that's destroyed that. And oh gosh, I've already, just kick me off the show already. It's over. Okay,
thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. I'm sorry I immediately ruined it.
Definitely been a 6 out of 10.
Oh boy. Well, you know what? That's better than average. Just slightly.
That's pass. That is a pass. That is a pass. But in the world of video games, you're just not going to get the sequel. You're just a fail. It's not good at all. If you get anything
below a 9, people get mad.
I don't get that.
They say you're biased.
When did it? An 8. 8's good.
Yeah.
7's good. 7 is an A pass in the Scottish education system. If you get over 7, if you get 70%, you're an A pass. You're an A pass student. That's where we are sitting. A. Yeah.
Whoa, for 70%? I want to go to school in Scotland.
No, you don't. No. Well, it was when I was a young lad, but then, obviously we were still staring at the moon when I was a young lad and going, what's that? What is that?
Does it revolve around us, or do we revolve around it?
I'm kind of being scared. I don't want to stare at it too long in case it takes my soul. So that kind of... And of course, you wouldn't have spoken like that, because that's not a Scottish accent.
No,
Jings,
I wouldn't. I also cannot do a Scottish accent. Look, accents are not my forte. There are some that I can do, but I am not gifted in it. Unfortunately.
See, I'm not bad at accents, but then that is because I have done some acting stuff.
Yeah.
So
I have too, but I'm still bad at it.
No. see with the acting stuff, right? Because this is right. Okay, this is what I see. Right, you see, oh, here's Chris Hemsworth. He's now playing Thor. Blah blah blah. And then what they do is and let's show him on his first role, and it turns out that he's been involved in acting for here's his first thing when he was in Australia doing like a cereal commercial. Is that with you being involved kind of in the industry? Is that how it goes? You need to be kind of starting that young in order to get it.
Yeah, do start really young, and then you don't hear anything. You don't really become aware of who they are until they're older. And even if they don't start really young, it really is oh, this person came out of nowhere and suddenly they're a star, and wow.
I saw that, yeah.
And then you look back at their credits and you're like, no, they've been doing this for 10 years. They're just now at a point where anyone knows who they are or cares who they are, or finally have gotten a role where people notice them, but they've been doing stuff or trying to do stuff for a long time. So yeah, that's pretty normal. Most people do not just suddenly book their first starring movie star type role out of absolutely nowhere, unless you're just incredibly beautiful, which does happen for the few lucky sons of guns.
I found that myself, but I did have to turn down the role of Iron Man due to not being good enough, which is just one of my biggest regrets. Were you doing stuff from a young age? I mean, were you
in a professional capacity?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been taking theater classes or trying to do plays and stuff like that since I was a kid. I always loved acting and playing pretend and all of that. But in terms of trying to do it actually professionally, I didn't really start until after I graduated from college. That I really was oh, I could do this professionally. So
what is it you did at college?
Well, I studied, so I got my degree in electronic media broadcasting, but I also studied theater. I didn't get my degree in it, but I took a ton of extra I could have double majored, I suppose, but I liked the freedom of being able to take whatever theater classes I wanted, as opposed to the classes that would have been required for the degree. So yeah. So I studied theater in college, but it was still, I was 2 years into college before I really was you know what? I think maybe I could pursue this professionally, and maybe I won't be happy if I'm not trying to pursue it professionally. And before that, I was in denial. I kept thinking, I could have a normal job. I could work in an office from 9 to 5 and be happy. And then I realized that's just not true for me.
But have you always been a little bit? It's terrible. Have you always been a bit of a performer? Have you always kind of been a bit of a song or a dancer, a joker kind of thing?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I would finish my dinner before everyone else, and then I would put on a show for the rest of my family while they finished their dinner.
Wow.
I would just basically get up from the table and sing and dance and tell jokes or cut up, just be really obnoxious is what I was doing. Obnoxious.
Did you have curly hair?
Sinking. It wasn't curly, but you know what? Neither was Shirley Temple's.
Was it not?
Hers was curled like that by her mom every day. Those weren't real curls. Poor thing.
That's such a fraud. I mean, you're already blowing open the entire, that's one kind of fact I thought that was true. It's just I've got to completely deny.
We've blown apart two people's hair secrets now. Matthew Jude and Shirley Temple.
See, now I've got to keep
Oh, no.
the Matthew Jude thing in now. Because otherwise, if we cut out the Matthew Jude thing, Paula, then what is going to happen is people are going to go, what's the hair Matthew Jude thing? And then it'll turn into Jude Hairgate. And then there'll be a hashtag.
He'll be
and
so
then I'll
happy
just
we
have
talked
to
about
leave.
him, though.
He will.
He'll be
It's
so
like,
happy.
is this when you step in and just go, you're talking about my goddamn hair?
Yeah.
And, 'cause
I did picture him being the one. I can picture with that voice. I can picture
Yeah.
exactly how he yelled it, leaning away from his microphone like that.
he does. You can just imagine that he doesn't want to redline it. So he sits back.
He does.
And he goes, they even talked about my hat! and back in again. But that's probably, on reflection, that sounds good to other people, but Matthew's going to be, he's probably tall enough to pick me up and put me on a big shelf that I won't be able to get down again.
See, it's more mean. But you know what? Sometimes you have to risk the consequences of like breaking an important, hard-hitting news story. Mm-hmm. And I say that's what we're doing here.
I think, this...
This is the Matthew Jude expose. We're not even going to talk about me.
There's going to be a Netflix. There's going to be a Netflix series, and and there's going to be memes and stuff, and it's going to be hat, hair, and Bigfoot and kind of everything along those lines. Is it you? Am I right? You started on the East Coast. If we look at the map,
If we look at that map,
you started off round about up there,
down a little, down in North Carolina, so like southeast.
Yeah,
that's where I grew up. I was born in Louisiana.
All right.
In Baton Rouge, and then lived very briefly in Ohio. Don't remember it at all. And then we moved to North Carolina when I was 3. So I grew up in North Carolina, went to college in North Carolina, or university, I suppose, in North Carolina. Just, to translate for
I kind of get. There's subtitles across the bottom, which I'm reading as we go.
Perfect.
It's kind of it's quite useful.
Well, I just recently learned that college is straight up just a different thing.
Really?
At least in
yes, it is.
England. Because it's more like our last 2 years of high school, I guess, are college, at least in some places.
Well, over here, what there used to be is it used to be an awful lot more difficult to get into university. So university, they used to say, if you're in university and you're the top 5% of the world. And then what happened is the colleges, that was where you went if you wanted to do kind of lower certificate stuff. And then what they started to do is they started to convert the colleges into universities. So we more talk about universities than we talk about colleges. But you still get things like nursing college and stuff like that as well. So did you did all your education in North Carolina then?
Yeah, all of it in North Carolina. And then after I graduated, I stayed in North Carolina for about 2 years and just worked in theater there, started teaching. I did some work with the children's theater, and then said, you know what? I think I have grown as much as I'm going to here. I think if I'm going to get older and not be bitter about my life choices, I need to go somewhere else and just try some things rather than staying where I'm from. That was just what felt right for me. And so I considered a bunch of places. I nixed New York pretty quickly because I'm an okay singer, but I am nowhere near strong enough to do Broadway.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'm probably not going to do that. And New York it seems like a really hard place to live. So then I considered Chicago for a little while, and I considered Denver for its theater scene.
Wow. Okay.
And then I thought about LA, and a friend of mine said, you know what? You should probably go to Los Angeles, because if you want to try and break into TV and film, you're probably going to want to start younger than older.
Yeah.
And you probably are more willing to put up with bullshit right now than you will be later. So you should go to LA and put up with it now, and you can always leave and go to Chicago or wherever and focus on theater later. But and I was like, you know what? That actually makes a lot of sense. So then I packed up my car and I drove across the country and it was very fun. And then I moved to LA, having never been in the city ever before.
Wow.
Which was very scary, and I don't recommend that. But yeah, and then 10 years went by, and I'm still here.
But what kind of things were you looking to do at the time? I mean, was there, did you go with, because people thought, you gotta, visualize your dream, and you've gotta, you've got to think about where you're aiming and stuff like that. But were you saying, right, I want to go for lead roles, or would you just think, like, if I can get anything at all, I'll be happy? Or did you have a particular kind of vision that you wanted to aim for at the time?
Anything at all. Just working. My goal really was, if I could just make a living from acting work. And to be honest with you, that's still my goal. It is not an easy thing to achieve. People are like, oh, you're going out there to make it. You want to be a movie star. And I'm like, I mean, that would be cool. But really, like, I don't have a desire to be, like, famous. I actually think there are a lot of things about that are unappealing. You know, you don't get to just, like, live your normal life when everyone knows who you are. But what I want is to be acting. I want to be able to be filling my days with that. And the dream really would be, if I was at a point where that was all I was doing, was supporting myself financially through acting work. Like I said, I've been here 10 years. I've booked some things, but none of it, steady enough to be like, yeah, this is what I'm only supporting myself from this. Though I'm starting to branch out into some other performance-based areas that are allowing me to kind of focus more on just performing, even if it's not in the traditional way in the industry that I had originally been thinking it would be.
All right. So, okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. And in terms of, like, I mean, is it as cutthroat and as kind of hard work and as terrible? Because they kind of always make it out, the stereotype thing is, you're fighting against another 400 people, in order to get a role, and it's all cutthroat, and the movie producers are all terrible people, and and you've just got to have that special thing, and you'll go along to a million auditions, and you'll end up, is it that kind of bad, or is that kind of overplayed a bit? I mean, is it a little bit more kind of stable now and a bit more?
I think it is actually a lot like the first thing. I think that stereotype comes from a really truthful place. I mean, it is true that for a 2-line role on a TV show, 2,000 people might get submitted for that. And they are going to pick maybe 20 to come in and actually audition for it. So even just getting the audition is a huge win statistically. And then from those 20 people, they're only going to cast one person to say 2 lines on that TV show. And it can be, you can be really, really good and really, really talented and not book work for any variety of reasons. You look too much like a series regular on the show, and they're afraid the audience is going to confuse you with them, or you look like the director's ex and they don't want to, or
exactly.
Someone decides, someone higher up goes, actually, I know this person and I want them to have the part. There's any number of things.
Yeah.
But I do think you can shield yourself a little bit from some of that more cutthroat stuff, just based on just like in any community, and who you choose to interact with. You can be a person who just goes to parties to network and schmooze and never feel like you're actually making a personal connection with anyone, because you aren't. You're only trying to be self-serving and meet people who you think can help you. Or you can focus on finding the people you connect with actually. Now, maybe that's why I'm still not making full-time money from acting work, because I'm not schmoozing enough, but maybe there's a reason for that. But so I think there's both. It can be, I think it can absolutely live up to that stereotype. But there are good people in the industry, and there's a lot of good things about the city of Los Angeles. There's a lot of terrible things, but I think it's easy to ignore and forget about the really good things. But there's a lot of really good things here. Like, I really do like living here.
Did you miss home? Was it hard being away from home for those kind of like that first while?
Yeah.
And was there points where you like kind of, was there points where you ever like, I just want to go home, dread the boards? I think gonna do that.
Yeah, in the first year it was definitely hard, especially like seeing like, oh, this play is being produced back home. that I know I would have gotten cast in, and I'm not booking anything here. And that would be tough. Or just missing my family or my friends there. Or even really when I got the most homesick was the first time I went back home and visited, like for the holidays.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was like, oh, because you notice things about where you're from after you've been gone for a while.
Yeah.
So I'd never appreciated how green North Carolina is until I had lived in a desert for like 6 months, you know? And then I was like, wow, there's just trees everywhere. It's so lush and pretty. Like, I was like, I kind of miss this.
You go back to LA and there's painting the grass green with food like, colouring to make it kind of there we go.
Just a trickle of sewer water. Straight up, that's real.
It's such a lovely smell, though.
Wow.
on a nice kind of day. Are you the type of performer that prefers kind of like a reactive kind of audience? Because obviously, in my research, and I did research because I have a question that I said I would promise myself I would remember.
Okay,
Paula, I promise remember. But you've done some theatre stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you obviously get the kind of the reaction. But you also did the improv stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you prefer doing? Would you prefer doing the kind of the film stuff where you've got a director going, yeah, that's great, but could you do the armpit farts a little louder next time? Or do you prefer kind of like the on the scene kind of audience interaction?
Oh, that's a hard question. There are things I prefer about theater, and there are things that I prefer about camera work. There is definitely, I mean, the thing that on camera acting is really lacking is that exchange of energy. The best thing about theater or improv is like it's kind of a partnership with the audience. You know, you're putting out energy as a performer, and the audience is giving you energy back with the way they respond to you. And it fuels what you're doing, and it leaves after a live show, I'm like hyped up. And then I crash later. I have an adrenaline crash.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm just like, you're feeding off of that. And after camera work, for me, I'm just tired when it's done. Because you're putting out energy all day long and no one's really giving it back to you in that way. You're not getting that instant feedback to your joke. But like if your joke or your emotional moment or whatever is working in a live performance, you know, like this, one of the last shows I did before I moved away from North Carolina was a show called The Last Night of Ballyhoo. And in it, my character, at the end of the play, my character and her love interest like finally kiss. And one of our audiences, when we kissed, they like cheered. And it is one of the coolest moments. I was like, wow, they were really invested and they were excited to see this happen with our characters. And it's one of the like coolest moments as a performer that I've had. And you just like don't get that when you're like on a film set. I did stand up. And stand up is that's
just like
scary. I haven't done
I did stand up like oh my goodness, I can't even think, maybe 20 years ago. But that was the thing where you can when somebody says to me, oh, this performer has got substance abuse issues, and I'm just like, yeah, I totally see why, because I don't remember feeling any better when you had a really, really good 10, 15 minutes, half hour on stage, and the audience were just looking at you and you could say anything at all, and you're right, they're kind of giving you that energy back, and it's absolutely fantastic. And that was just kind of like amazing. But also at the same time, I remember I did Godspell.
I love Godspell.
I played Jesus in Godspell.
Oh, nice.
And I did the bit just before he gets crucified, and I kind of did all the kind of the solo speech, and the audience went quiet. They went totally quiet for all the way through. I was just like,
yeah.
And I looked up and I almost fluffed my lines because I was like, are people not liking this? And it was like everybody in folks just went, oh, that was quite scary, quite intense.
I feel like when they're that quiet, it means you've really got them. Yeah. They aren't moving, they aren't breathing. Like they're when the audience, when you can't hear the audience like shifting in their chairs or like crumpling their program, that's when you know you've got them in a serious moment. They're so invested.
Mm-hmm.
But it can also be, you're like, wait, why aren't they responding at all? Like, what is happening? Or like if you're just doing a matinee show of something, which is always a sleepier audience, and they just don't laugh at any of the jokes, and you're like, what am I doing wrong? This was funny last night.
I did the scariest show I ever did, because I did a lot of Amdram, because I'm a show off. I mean, and it's kind of podcasting and we'll get onto that anyways, a different world altogether. But the scariest show I ever did was the Full Monty musical.
Oh, yeah.
Because there was, the audience were basically, it was 95% women. And they got to the end, they really got into
I was like, were they rowdy?
They really... we were considering cattle prods at one point, just, you know, and just bringing on the hoses just to kind of keep them cool, because they were really kind of, you know, getting into, you know, they were like, okay, you're meant to be rowdy. There was definitely, you know, I think the bar was, you know, they started licking the glue off the carpets. That's how thirsty they were. But that was kind of like a scary time. What I mean, in terms of then, you know, would are you still doing the improv just now? Is that still a regular thing? I do still regularly. Well, right now it's a little weird because we're not technically doing it, but before we all were told we had to stay in our homes, I was doing regular improv. I had 2 teams that I was working with, and both performed once a month. So I had a show twice a month. One of them is a musical improv team. And so, yeah, I get together with them to just like practice and work with a coach twice a month. And then the first Friday of every month, we host a show where we perform and we have other teams come and perform. So yeah, I still do that, and I love it, especially musical improv. It's so fun. Is it like Whose Line Is It Anyway? It's more long form than that. So Whose Lines Anyway is like little short form games. But what we do is we do scenes. And sometimes we'll try and string them together like they're a narrative. But so it's a little more long form, like you're watching just an improvised scene from, you know, a play or something with songs. Because it's musical improv, we break into song typically. And you just make it up on the spot then? Yeah, we have someone who plays the keyboard for us, and he makes up the music as well. And then we sing based on what he's making up, and we make it up. And it's when I first started doing it, it's one of the scariest things ever, because you go, well, how do I know what notes to sing? How do I know? And everyone's like, no one knows what notes to sing. You just get used to hearing it it was really hard for me at first to hear, like, I can hear what the accompanist is playing, but how do I know what to sing? And they're like, you just will. If you have any musical ability at all, you'll find it. And then with practice, you get better at it. But it's so fun. It's one of the most supportive things I've ever done. Like, I mean, it's really important when you're doing improv for the people who are doing improv with you to support you in your choices. But in musical improv, it is extra. Like, everyone has to be on board immediately or the format fails, because it's heightened. You know, musicals are naturally just a very heightened form of communication. We don't just sing to each other in real life. And so it's just like, you can improvise, you can do a musical improv scene with someone you've never met before, and at the end of it, you're almost like, wow, it was like we knew each other. It was like we were best friends in that moment, because you immediately just jump on board and you're like, yes, whatever you're doing, it's awesome, and I'm going to add to it. And it's just a really cool feeling. And it's fun. Who doesn't like musicals? Okay, well, lots of people don't like musicals, but they're wrong. But they're cold in their hearts. Yes, they are. And they have no joy. They need, you know, I don't, and it's like people that say they don't like soup. But there's so many different varieties of soup. Right. And it's like musicals. You can surely find a soup meant for you, surely. Yeah. And you can definitely find, you know, something to keep you going. It's just one of these, you know, it's just one of these things, musicals. Yeah, I still, there's part of me that knows that I would go back, and if I went and did try to do a musical now, I would be Grumpy Police Chief, you know, or I'd be Officer Krupke if it was West Side Story. I mean, that's what, you know, I'd have the song sung about me. I would definitely, I mean, this would not be able to take part in any kind of dance number kind of
some
thing.
musicals
It's not,
have
you know,
less
it's not.
dance in them.
I've always found that, I thought that was going to be the case when we did the Full Monty, and it turns out there's the big basketball dance right in the middle, and I've never ever kind of been so physically trim in my life with the amount of kind of exercise that we were kind of doing at the time. Do you have to be quite fast thinking then? Do you have like a playbook of songs, lines, and stuff like that you'll come down on, or is it just the kind of like the mood at the time?
It's really just whatever you think of in the moment.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, people will have kind of like go-to shticks, you know, like certain jokes or characters that they will like automatically go to. But really, because the song is coming from whatever happened in the scene, and whatever happened in the scene is coming from whatever suggestion the audience gave us, it's different every time. And so it really is just like whatever you think of in the moment, you just are spitting out. As it comes into your head, you're saying it. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not.
Are you like Eminem, like a battle rapper?
I have been working on my rapping, actually.
Type situation. Is this what we're doing?
I did do an entire improvised rap show recently, but
really?
Am I good at it? No. Am I going to battle rap someone? Not anytime soon.
I would think that would, I mean, you're in LA. I mean, you could just rock up.
I mean,
you'd need a rap name though.
I do need a rap name.
You need to think about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I feel like it's probably like a little something like Lil Deming or something, which sounds
Lil Deming sounds good.
Dumb.
Just gonna get laughed off the stage before you even start. Yeah. Here's Little Deming. No,
like,
no,
well,
they're not.
No.
No, you failed. Get off the stage.
Bye.
Get off the stage.
Thank you so much for having me. Bye.
Yeah, the question I was going to ask is, on your acting professional resume, or CV as we would call it over here in the proper place where proper English words are spoken, which is a lie, because CV actually is a Latin word meaning curriculum vitae, so I've just killed myself.
What does CV stand for? I've always wondered.
It's curriculum vitae, which is something to do with life. I'll need to ask Liz Davidson, because she's a Latin teacher, so she'll be able to...
So your resume is just like, what have you done with your life? That feels reductive, I'll say it. My life is more than just the credits on my resume.
It's kind of like saying to you, right, okay, this is going to be self-effacing. You're going to feel bad about yourself, but what actually have you done with your life? But I'm just, right, okay. My question is, okay, you have on the list, and it's an impressive list. I mean, I had to read it. It's got lots of really complicated words which I didn't understand. But you have on your list of skills, you have firearms and balloon modelling. Mm-hmm. And I was wondering, was there... which one are you better at? And secondly, what kind of person goes, okay, so I'm really good at... I'm competent at firearms, balloon modelling. I mean, I can...
Let me tell you about that special skills section of a resume. It is two things. It is one, hey, what are things that other people maybe aren't experienced with that I could do and look reasonably realistic in your movie doing? Firearms. What is a thing that will be sort of unusual that I can actually do, but that might make you remember me or ask me a question in the audition? Oh, balloon animals. So that's how those two different things. And I can't actually do balloon because I've done a lot of birthday party performing.
All right.
And that did involve... Now, look, I'm not real good. I'm not going to like go stand out on a pier in a tourist area and make you a balloon animal that looks like Elmo or something. That's not happening. I'm not making like monkeys hanging out of a palm tree that's a hat that you can wear. But I can do like a dog and a fish and a sword.
All right.
And things like that.
But just imagine, you're like, not like Steve Martin in Parenthood where you're going like, the inner lower intestine and handing it over.
I'm not like wildly talented at it, but I could pass for like your cousin's birthday, you know, your cousin's kid's birthday party. I could totally come in and do a few little balloon animals.
And if they want firearms, you're also the person that could...
Well, I could also
kinda-
make them an alien ray gun out of balloon animals. I do know balloons. I do know how to do that. But also if they need something just shot, like they really shouldn't ask me to do it because my aim is not good, but I do know how to shoot guns and can do it safely.
Oh, wow. I've never shot a gun. I don't know if I would ever... I've done paintballing. That's probably not shooting guns, but you know, you do what you do.
I've never paintballed, so I don't really know how they compare, but probably not wildly different other than the deadly aspect.
It's really sore because people will actually, shoot you with a paintball, and you know they aim to kind of really. I suppose it's not too much different, but you know, it's paint, covered in paint, and it's stuff that clashed with my outfit. So I was a bit upset about the whole kind of situation. To be kind of like perfectly honest, what made you? You're like, oh my goodness, what's he gonna ask now?
Oh gosh,
what did you make for dinner last? No,
a ravioli.
What? Oh, really? Okay. Was that completely handmade from scratch?
Absolutely not. It came out of a package that I boiled in some water. I poured some mushroom pasta sauce out of a container into a pan.
There you go.
I heated them both up. I combined them.
There you go. Done.
Good dinner.
There you go. Excellent. And coming from all your major food groups as well. But what made you decide to do the video stuff then? Things Get Dicey. How did that kind of come about? Yes, we're talking about board games. We're 40 minutes in and we're talking about board games.
We're like some other podcast that takes a long time to get to board games. Who shall remain nameless. Yeah, so I had been playing board games for a good while, like I guess like 7 years or 6 years or something, and was watching, other board game content, just reviews and stuff, and thinking like, wow, it's just a lot of dudes doing this. And I had attended my first convention and was like, really thought it was going to be more like, I really thought, this is naive maybe, I thought it was going to be like 60% dudes, 40% women. Like I really thought it was going to be. And I looked around and I was like, oh, there's actually, it might be more like 80-20. That's, But I know that women play board games because our gaming group is like half and half, like.
Yeah.
And so I just started thinking, man, wouldn't it be nice to just see more women, just be more visible in the hobby, because we're here and I don't want other women to like go to an event and see 20%, this 80-20 split and think, oh, well, maybe I don't feel like I belong. I don't know. So I just started thinking about like, is there something I could do to be more visible? And I thought, well, I don't want to do reviews because I don't have some journalistic background. Plenty of other people are already doing reviews. Like, why would anyone care what I think about a game?
Yeah.
So I thought, I'm not going to do that. But you know what I do is comedy. I like comedy. And I'm married to someone who is a cinematographer. And we could like make some stuff. Like we're in Hollywood. I have a friend who can do sound. We know people who can, it was like, what if we make jokes about board games all the time. What if I just do some little sketch videos that are jokes about board games? And actually, to be fair, at first I thought I was just going to shoot them on my iPhone. Yeah. And my husband, when I was starting to set it up, he went, I'm sorry, you will do no such thing. I know how to work a real camera. I'm going to make these look good. They look good because of him, because he knows what he's doing.
How dare you?
He can't get out of it now. Now he's like, I guess this is because I'm like, we can't go down in quality now. So now you have to help me every weekend when I need to shoot another one.
You must be loving that.
Yeah.
But then, I know you said, because what about board games, funny sketches about board games? It's like, nobody would think about doing that. But nobody kind of did. If I go down and if I look at, say, if I look at the kind of the media that's kind of going out there, there's a lack of, I don't think it's about a lack of variety. I think it's about a lack of confidence in somebody just running with something.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not trying to blow smoke up your ass here, because, you know, but you get like somebody like Christian Kang as well. But I think that there's always a kind of thing, well, where do we start? And I also think it's like, is an idea funny? Because to get a funny idea is the most difficult thing in the world. And there's a number of times that I've went, oh, I'll do this and this will be really, really funny. And then what I do is I do it 5 times and then I go, actually, this isn't funny at all. And sometimes you just got to like run with something. Sometimes when somebody puts out a Kermit the Frog, you know, soundtrack, you have got to step up and be
Sometimes
that Miss Piggy.
You have to
You just
silence those naysaying voices in your mind and just like do it, because the world needs you.
Exactly. And whether they think they need Miss Piggy singing It's a Wonderful World or not, you can find out, because I'll put a link in the show notes. So there you go. It's a real thing. And they're going to be like, what are you talking about? Is he actually being self-serving just now? It's like, yes, I am.
Well, it is
you
your
just
show. I think you
have,
get to be.
I think completely, Paula, that's very, 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 very true. But going back to it though, there's not an awful lot of variety in board game media. And I don't know I think people try to do reviews and they try to do reviews differently. Mm-hmm. So you get like no pun included, and you get like your shut up and sits downs, but you very rarely kind of get somebody just going, I'm just going to try and be funny, here's the subject kind of stuff. And then, but I mean, are you very kind of shoot from the hip when you get an idea? Are you kind of like, let's just do it, let's just get it done? I mean, how quickly do you have like a whole pile of ideas lined up, or are you generally you know?
Yeah, so I have a whole bunch of ideas. Whenever I think, I have like a note in my phone or whatever. Whenever I think of something, I jot it. I go, oh, that's a joke. Maybe there's a sketch there. And I write it down. And then later I go, because some of them I go, sometimes it's just like a funny idea, but you go, but what is the joke? How do we sustain this over 2 minutes? You know, is it more than just 30 seconds of me saying a joke once and then being done? And some things don't have legs. They can't be sustained.
Yeah.
But some things can. And so then I go through those ideas and I go, okay, well, one, what can we feasibly shoot? You know, and because some ideas are just like really complicated and maybe it's going to take more work to actually produce it. And some are simpler. And so then I try and go through, and it depends on how much time I have ahead of time. You know, it depends on where I'm at in the season. You know, we've kind of broken up the way we release Things Get Dicey into seasons because, like you're saying, it is hard to come up with jokes all the time, and I will get burned out.
Yeah.
And I need that time. I need a couple months in between to just like play games, because I don't honestly often have time to actually play games when we're making the videos about the games. There's no time, because it takes all my time to write and shoot and edit and upload and deal with social media comments and things like that, which is a job in its own. But yeah, so sometimes I'll write a script and it's like 1 or 2 passes on the script and we're ready to go and we can shoot it that weekend, and then I'm working on it. And sometimes like I have a script I wrote probably like 8 months ago that we haven't shot yet, that I'm still not quite happy with. That, you know, eventually I'd like to be able to do it, but the last joke isn't right yet. And haven't quite figured it out. So it kind of depends on the sketch, really, how it works and how quickly it goes. And then sometimes too, like my sense of humor is sometimes a little weird, is sometimes a little non sequitur. And so I'll write a thing and then I'll show it to Lawson, my partner, and he might not get it, because we have different senses of humor. So then there's that negotiation of like, okay, well, how do we change this joke so that we both get it, or so that more people will get it instead of just me getting it? Because sometimes what I think is funny, no one else thinks is funny. So there's that too, of that like collaboration and figuring out, you know. Yeah, but a lot of work goes into it, and we do a lot of takes. You know, we don't just like do one take of everything and shoot it. It takes us a whole day to shoot a video usually. Yeah.
Do you ever think about, and I'm getting there, my brain is kind of working away trying to get these words so they come out of my mouth correctly rather than just like some kind of strange ramble. Otherwise, I'll just regurgitate my recipe for carbonara and we'll be going nowhere. But have you ever thought of kind of like making people more aware of the actual process that you go through? Because one thing I'm very, very aware is like we're talking, okay, and we're going to be talking, you know, we'll talk for however long it takes until you're just like, couldn't you just let me go? And but then after that, there will be the kind of the organising of the files and putting the files together, and then there'll be the editing, and then there'll be kind of the soundtrack and stuff like that. And it all takes time. It might take 2 hours, it might take 3 hours, depending on the thing. In terms of video, one of the things I'd love to do more video, but I'm aware if I wanted to do more video, I would need to do less podcasting.
Yeah.
I can't justify to my wife, I can't justify to my wife and say, oh, I'm just about to spend another 8 hours, because it could be that length of time kind of getting stuff done. And I'm not sure if everybody appreciates the length of time it takes to kind of produce kind of content. But have you ever thought about actually kind of breaking down kind of like a scene and say, right, okay, for this, it took 7 takes to do that. It takes 5 takes to do this. This whole thing kind of took a day just to, because I think it gives people a sense of kind of like appreciation.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually thought about doing something kind of like that actually for my Patreon, if I'm honest, mostly just to like be like, hey, maybe it seems like I'm not doing anything right now, and I really appreciate the fact that you're supporting me even though I haven't put a video out, but I am working. Here's what it looks like. I've thought about it kind of for that reason, but it is interesting because like I put out a little bloopers video a couple months back, like 2 months ago maybe. And I had some comments on that where people were like, oh, wow, I didn't even realize that you didn't just shoot them all in one go. And I'm like, you know, and so that was one way, I guess, to sort of in a fun way, show a little behind the scenes or the amount of work or sometimes the amount of tries it takes to get me to get the line right. Yeah, or I could just be like, hey, I could like live tweet a shoot day. Hey, it's 9 a.m. We're talking about the script right now. It's 10 a.m. We're still talking about the script. It's 11 a.m. We've started setting up the lights. It's 12:30. We just shot the first, you know, half a page, or, you know, eighth of a page of our script. Whoop, now it's time to take a lunch break. Ooh, it's 2 o'clock. We're now doing and then being like, now it's 8 p.m. We're finally done and we're putting all the equipment away, you know. It might be an interesting way to share with me. And then it is like, and then you get into post-production. And I mean, I think I spend typically a full like 40-hour week editing, because post-production is more than one. You have to go through all the footage, like you're saying. You have to go through all the footage, and if we have 80 takes, which we might for a 3-page, 80 to 100 takes for a 3-page script, depending on the style of it and the kinds of shots we needed to get, I need to go through all the footage. I need to log it and make notes on it so I know what it all is later. And then I need to start piecing together the rough edit. Then we need to do like at least 2 or 3 more passes on the edit to tighten it up and get it right and make the jokes work. Then it needs to be color corrected. Then it needs to have music figured out. Then it needs to have the audio mix cleaned up. Then it needs to have captions made. Then it needs to be exported. Then it needs to be uploaded. Then it needs to have a description written in YouTube of the upload. But the upload took 2 hours because it's a 3-minute video that is also in HD. You know, it's like, I'm usually up till 2 a.m. the day before a video comes out, just dealing with final renders and uploads.
Yeah.
It's a lot. That sounds, but also, you know, I just love it so much. I was like, this sounds like I hate it.
I don't know if you're saying that for yourself or if you're saying that for everybody out here, but on occasion you're just like this. If I do, I'll usually record shows back to back. I'll pick one night and then I'll get like 2-3 people on at once. But then you've got to say, well, have I just repeated myself? Have I just used the same joke? Have I just used the same thing? And you know, and my brain, it's just, you know, it's just one of these kind of things. The reaction video to Rodney Smith doing the box flip, because the only reason I was aware about Rodney doing his box flip was seeing your reaction video. Now, because just And I was wondering how much was that planned and how much was that just, this is, because it was very quickly kind of, you know, hi, I'm box kind of thing. And how much was that just, you know, you and Kiki sitting down and just going, let's get something on camera. You've had the wine, I've had the wine. It's so very good.
It's the second one. So this video, which we laugh about because we were both like, this is a video that we've made that has probably gotten the most views of almost anything we've done. And so when we did the least like, this is an exception to my rule of what I was just saying about the amount of prep and work it takes. We literally, Kiki like texted me and was like, do you want to just come over and make a video about this? We would need to like upload it tonight. I was like, yeah, let's just do it. So I came over and we threw around some ideas and then we just did it. And we we didn't have a script. We just improvised everything that we did and then legitimately tried to flip boxes and all of that is pretty real, all the box flipping, and then just sat down together and like cut it together really fast in a way that we thought maybe would be funny and then uploaded it. So that is very different from my normal process. And I was like, man, wouldn't it be nice if making videos was always as easy as this?
Just like that easy. I'm just wondering, the whole the thing where you're just both sitting there going, but it's hot, isn't it? Yeah, it's so hot. Was that just ad-libbed or
Yeah, we did. I think there may have been a discussion right before. It was like, what if we said this? Or we did it once and then cracked ourselves up and we're like, no, that's what we need to say. Let's do another take of that. So yeah, that was ad-libbed. And the bit about me being like, but we've had so much wine. I think I ad-libbed that, like the whole. It
was just so funny. It was just the fact you're both in this, like, this is either going to go really, really well or it's going to end up in an absolute kind of disaster. And there was an awful lot of naturalness to it. But then you move on to one of the ones that a lot of people like, and I've heard nothing but praise about, is where you're taking on the different personas of actual law and get Rodney and stuff like that as well. And that looked like it was from a logistics point of view and from a take point of view and a labor intensity point of view. That looks like it was in the, you know, it was on the line. I can't even see the line. You know, the line is a dot kind of thing. I mean, that looks, I think Nick was involved.
Yeah, Nick Murphy.
Nick was involved in that one.
that one with me. And helped on set. He's so great because he'll come over sometimes and he'll be in a sketch, but then he'll also help on set. And it makes my life, it just makes everything go faster to have another pair of hands to like set up a light or set up some props or whatever. That one was definitely a ton of work. I think it took us a whole day to shoot it. I had to organize and then prep for it. I had to figure out what I was going to wear to be each person and then get it. Some of it I already owned. I already owned the Kiki outfit. I already owned the Rodney Smith stuff, and I already owned the Matthew Jude clothes, except for the hat. I think I had to buy the hat. But I had the glasses and I had the plaid shirt already. But I had to get a black hat.
Well, you know you can get it from matthewjude.com/store, and if you put in the code I am Bigfoot, you get an extra 10% off. So we'll put that. We'll put that in the show notes. But I mean, did you get the kind of the eureka moment where you kind of went, this has worked really, really well? Were you aware that it was going to kind of be as kind of well received as it was?
I honestly, I didn't know because there was part of me, we were a little worried when we were making it. We were like, is this too inside baseball? You know, like, will people understand these references? And will anyone, because of some of our other videos that had done well up to that point, were ones that you could also sort of apply to other hobbies, not just board games. And I was like, this is only about board games and it's only about media people in board games. No one who isn't into board games is going to get or appreciate this in any way. So we weren't sure. I was like, I think it's funny. I think it will be fun. I hope it will appeal to the people who watch these other content creators, and maybe those content creators will share it and will get more eyes on it because they're being parodied in it. But I didn't know how it would be received. And I was pleasantly surprised when people seem to like it as much as they did. And also to an extent, some people have been like, oh, I watched that, but you had a couple of people that you parodied who I didn't know who they were. So then I went and looked them up. And I was like, that's also like really cool. If that puts more eyes on like a girl's game shelf, or anything else, then that's awesome.
I've kind of word round the campfire is that you're now up to eating at least 15 meeples a day.
Yes.
By the old throwing them up and into your mouth. I mean, are you seeking any kind of help in order to get over that?
I don't think I need
seems to become a dependency.
help. I think it's actually it's an achievement. I think. So
I've kind of heard that you kind of get a bit of a rational when you don't have your meeples.
I get hangry. You know what? And that's just because of a low blood sugar thing. So yeah, like I need those 15 meeples, and tomorrow I might need 16 of them.
And that's fine. Look, I'm not calling you out on this. I'm just saying to you that if that maybe if you've got to be comfortable with where you are in terms of your meeple intake, and
I'm comfortable. I'm real comfortable.
Okay,
my meeple intake. I don't think anything needs to change. I don't think I have a problem.
I just, I
did the other day get a splinter, though, in the back of my mouth, which was an issue.
It must be interesting if you would go to the dentist to get checked out and they say, look, there's a big red wooden thing at the back of your mouth. It's just fine. It's just dissolving.
In here. Yeah, it's like, let's go away. Yeah. That's meant to be there.
You've actually got sepsis in the roof of your mouth from the scraping.
What's funny is, you eat a meeple in one video. And suddenly it's like your thing. Now it's like literally every sketch I go, but how can I eat a meeple in this sketch? Does it work? Is it too much? Is it too much? Okay, we won't do it in this one. But I literally now try and figure out how I can work it into everything if possible.
Day-to-day life, going to the store, walking outside, looking at the garden, meeple in the mat, there's rumors. I'm just saying, I don't want to embarrass you, that's all. I'm not
ashamed.
I just can. It's apparent. I see you juggling them just now on camera. It's amazing. But going forward, do you want Things Get Dicey to continue to grow? I mean, if people say, oh, well, this could be like almost like a semi kind of career opportunity for you. Would you like it to do that? Or do you like the fact that you're still in control? It's still very much kind of like the part of the hobby. It sounds like you're obviously enjoying yourself and everything like that, doing the creation side of things.
Like, I'm never going to get cast as a hard-boiled detective in an actual, like, movie. Like, very unlikely. Yeah. But I got to do that myself, and I got to be like, oh, I could do this. I can play this. Or something silly where I dress up as the old Board Game Geek mascot. That's really fun, that I get to, like, be like, I'm going to do something really dumb. And then I get to just do it. So I don't know. It's tricky because I would love it if Things Get Dicey was a thing that was how I was making a living off of performing.
Yeah.
But it is tricky because that other side of the coin is like right now when it's just me just doing it, I can do whatever I want and I can do it at whatever pace I want. I put a lot of pressure on myself for my release schedule, but technically I am the one setting that release schedule. And when it becomes something else, or when other people get involved, or you're getting compensated for it in some way, it does change how I'm able to approach it. It's not just me and what I want anymore. But also it's a lot of work, and it's cool when I do get compensated for that work. So, it's tricky. It's a tricky balance. Yeah. I feel like it's kind of a careful what you wish for sort of scenario, but I guess we'll just see what happens.
Could you sit around and not create? I mean, could you just be the person that sits, reads and stuff? Because, you've got Death by Monsters as well, which we haven't even touched on because Matthew's going to be flipping his hair, waving it back and forth, like an angry Bigfoot that he is. We know your secret, Matthew. We know your secret. We know you're deflecting onto Nick as well and saying he's prime suspect, but we know it's you. God damn it. And but you've got that. You've got the YouTube reaction stuff that you were doing with, you know, in relation to Doctor Who, and you've also the Star Trek stuff, and you've got the improv stuff. So are you one of these people you get kind of itchy, twitchy if you're kind of like going, well, I know I could be finishing off, you know, the box set of the OC, but on the other side of things, I've just had a really good idea for, you know, this kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I can't. One, I have a hard time saying no to things. But yeah, it is hard. I want to be doing something even when I am like in downtime. I'm like, I'm just going to watch a bunch of like the Great British Bake Off today. I'm like probably while I'm sitting and doing that, I'm like knitting something, you know, or I'm like my hands need to be busy, or I need to be making something. I just like it. And yeah, I guess it is very, I've always been a person who's kept my schedule really busy to a fault. I think one thing I've been thinking about a lot this year is how do I find a little more balance in that? Because I should be able to have like a weekend. I should feel like I can take a weekend and relax. I really want that in my life. But it is hard. It's hard to take that time off. And like you said, I get itchy. I get anxious. I'm like, well, I'm not doing anything, so I should be making something. I should be doing a thing.
Do you feel guilty about that then? If you're not?
Sometimes,
because my brain works, you know, I'll be sitting there kind of watching a TV show, and I'll be like, oh, but I've got this review to write, and I really should be writing this review. Or I'm sitting there playing my PlayStation 4 for an hour, and I'm like, oh, I really, you know, I have to, I should be kind of checking that audio and editing it for this kind of show. And sometimes I get that. But then, like you said, sometimes I've just got to sit down and go, look, because there's a lot of there's a lot of intensity in planning and stuff like that. And it if you don't take, it's almost like, oh, I've taken a hobby and turned it into a job.
Yeah, right.
Stupid boy. But then I also need the kind of the downtime as well, which is kind of like a strange kind of situation to be in.
I try and remind myself that like the downtime is productive in its own way, because your brain really does need that time to think about something else, to have a good idea about the thing you need to get done. And if you aren't allowing yourself the downtime, you're doing a disservice to how good the work you're putting out actually can be. But it's hard to remember that. It's hard to remember that the downtime is just as productive as the like productive time. Yeah.
Somebody said to me that like it's like working out. If you do like 100, you could do like 100 push-ups a day. But if you do 100 push-ups a day for like 3 weeks, you'll end up doing more damage than if you kind of miss out a couple of days, because you're not giving your body kind of chance to kind of relax and
repair itself, which is when the muscles actually like get made. That's the scientific way of talking about it.
That is my that's my mantra. It's just I've been maybe waiting for the last 7 years for the muscles to kind of get made and kind of turn up. What is your kind of your start? What was your dream role? I mean, if you could have anything. I mean, if you were like, say, well, you know, for me, Christopher Nolan film. If somebody stuck me in a Christopher Nolan film, if Christopher Nolan knocked on the door and said, you could be the annoying Scottish person in my next film, I'd be like, sign me. Or Taika Waititi as well. But what about yourself? This is not about me anymore. What about you?
Gosh, if there was a world where I could ever play Eponine in a Broadway production of Les Mis, I would love that. I want to be in a Western, but I don't want to be like a saloon girl. I want to be like the woman who's also like, you know, like a Calamity Jane type.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Whip crack away, whip crack away, whip crack away.
Like TV show wise, anything that's like a Greg Daniels or like a Lorne Michaels, you know, style, like type comedy, I would. Oh yeah, those are real good. I'd kill for something like that. Stuff like that, I'd be super into. But really just anything. If you have a job, if you have like an acting job that you would like me to perform, I would love to do that for you. So.
I mean, I'm sure casting agents, they're a big part of our audience.
They're listening. They're listening
I get
right
told
now.
all the time that, I get casting agents all the time messaging me on the show and saying, you just bring these people that are either doing Kickstarters or they're content creators. When are you going to bring on when are you going to bring some real acting talent to the place?
And the question still is when? When will it happen?
Oh, well, when, and the thing is they're saying, and we need somebody who can catch a meeple in their mouth at 15 feet.
Wow.
That's what there's.
That's me. It's me. Today's the day. It's happened.
I'm going to make some calls and send some emails and stuff like that. If people want to find you on the internet webs, where can they find you on the internet webs?
Oh gosh, well, it depends on what they're interested in. For board game stuff, if you go to YouTube and either type in my name, Paula Deming, Deming, my channel's under my personal name, so you can find my stuff there. Or if you go into that search bar on YouTube and type in Things Get Dicey, you'll find it. You can also find me on Twitter at Things Get Dicey for board game related shenanigans. A lot of other things get posted to my personal Twitter, which is at Paula Deming. Again, that's Deming. Also, because it's 2 M's, a lot of people think it has 2 M's, so I spell it. But also, I try and differentiate between the M and the N, So that's that. I make a fiction podcast that is a rom-com called Deck the Halls with Matrimony. Do you like holiday Christmas movie, like holiday romance movies, like a Hallmark Channel Christmas movie is what I'm trying to say? You might like listening to this. It is that for your ears. You can find that Deck the Halls with Matrimony, Sasquatch Radio, spelled sass like sassy. That's on Twitter. And also I make this other podcast. I do so many. Oh my God. I should stop listing all the things that I do. Death by Monsters. Oh.
Yes.
Do you like monsters, mysteries, and the unknown and a comedic take on that? Do you want to hear board game people talking about not board games? Listen to Death by Monsters. That you can just type it in, deathbymonsters.com. All the things are on the website. I react on YouTube to... It's so stupid. I do too many things. I have a reaction series. I'm watching Doctor Who for the first time, and I'm reacting to it. And then also Star Trek The Next Generation, which is one of my favorite shows, and my friend is reacting to that with me. That's on the YouTube channel, The Gallifrey Gals, which is a Doctor Who reference that I now know and understand. I'm going to be done. I think I do other things, but they're not worth talking about.
We'll just, It's
too much.
If the space in the podcast notes allow it, we will make sure that we put all those links.
Oh, I'm also part of This Game Is Broken now. Which I do keep forgetting about.
Wow.
So there's that. Richard,
Matthew's going to
why?
be so happy. He's going to be so delighted. He's going to be listening along and going, just mention This Game Is Broken. That's all you need to do. Just mention it once.
Speaking of Matthew Jude, he and I also, I just remembered another thing I do with Matthew.
What's that? What's that?
We stream board games. So we are on Twitch. If you go over to the Gen Con TV Twitch channel, on Wednesdays, Matthew, Jude, and I play board games together on that channel. We don't live near each other, so we can't actually play them in real life. But we use Tabletop Simulator and Tabletopia, those sorts of things. And you can watch us get mad at each other while we play board games. That's is
worth
officially
the price of
last
admission
thing.
alone. That is officially... It's not one more thing.
I'm not going to say anything else.
I was thinking it was the Spanish Inquisition for a second.
I was thinking about Matthew and thinking, oh gosh, I have to mention how we play games together too.
You have to mention, we're not going to mention his secret. We're not going to mention Matthew's Sasquatchian secret.
No, of course not. We aren't going to blow that story out yet. It's not time. The time's not right.
Not yet. Not until this episode goes live, and then it's going to be exposure time, Jude.
Ooh, yeah.
Exposure time. Thanks very much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Let me just ramble on about all kinds of things.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. I'm just going to say, everybody out there, if you want to keep an eye on what we're up to, go to the internet web, search for We're Not Wizards, and you'll find us in all the different places and bases and staces with faces. Yeah. And if you like what you've done, if you like what you've listened to, then if you like what you've done, you like what you've done, look at it.
Look at what you've done.
Look at what
Do you
you've
like
done.
it?
If you like what we've done, then consider telling somebody else who knows how to talk properly, considering they've done about 400 episodes of a podcast, the damn fools. If you like us even more, drop over to Apple Podcasts and drop us a rating or a review, because that's nice, apparently. There is only 2 more things to do. You see, as he's holding up 3 fingers. The first thing is to remember that we're many things, but we're not wizards. Are we wizards, Paula?
We are absolutely not wizards, unfortunately.
What? And the second thing is to say goodbye. So it's a goodbye from the we were almost there, 99%, 99.5%, but the final tragic disappointment, that is Paula Deming. Say goodbye, Paula.
Goodbye. Goodbye, everyone.
Seething. And it's goodbye from me. Remember, stay safe, stay at home, roll 6s, make something awful, and until the next time, check out the Gallifrey Girls, This Game Is Broken, the Twitch thing, all the videos and things get dicey, a cuddly toy, 2 packets of crisps, several pints of lager, and some juice. But until the next time, goodbye.
Bye. 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 Bye.
And we're clear. Just stop.
Bye.
Just
Bye.
stop.
I'm still recording.
Stop.
Bye. Bye.
Stop.
Can I be done now? Can I stop
Stop.
saying bye? Richard, can I stop saying goodbye
No,
now?
stop.
Please.
Just
please.
stop saying bye. Just
Bye.
go.
Goodbye.
Finish.
A wizard is never late. Nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.